Good evening, Professor Schumann. Good evening, classmates. This is my presentation about the book chapter that I read, Developing Language Learning Materials with Technology. I've divided the talk into 4 parts: Introduction, Part 1, Creating Materials, Part 2, Blending Materials and Technology, Part 3, Conclusion, Part 4. The author, Dr. Gary Madaram, works at the University of Manchester. His book chapter is entitled Developing Language Learning Materials with Technology, 2nd edition, 2011. I wanted to begin with a survey to make a word cloud. The question is, name 3 words that you associate with developing language learning materials with technology. So they'll answer the same question 3 times, each time entering 1 word. I received 9 responses from my classmates, which gave me a total of 27 words. And of those 27 words that I received, it's an interesting word cloud. We see things that do not surprise us. Digital natives, Web 2.0, nothing to surprise us there. But we also see literacy. So of my 9 classmates who responded, they have an association of literacy being connected with the development of language learning materials and technology. So that would be something that if they were present, I would be asking if anybody wanted to comment and elaborate on that particular point. Now, this book is published or was published in 2011. It did not look forward and try to predict the future. It didn't really look back to the past and talk about how we got to this point in history. So 2011 is important for the understanding of the context in which this book was published. So let's take a walk back in time and have a look at the year 2011. I'm just going to let you take a look at it. Lady Gaga, selling 1 million albums in 1 week. Born this way. I'm beautiful. I'm perfect the way God made me. Love yourself. I was born this way. That's a new anthem, a new call, and people responded to that. The world is changing. Japan, earthquake, tsunami. The global warming. 2010 was the hottest year on record at that time. United Nations called 2010 the worst financial and economic crisis since the Great Depression. Times were bad. A lot of people didn't have jobs, weren't working, unemployed. And over in Egypt, we had the Arab Spring. 4 countries, Egypt, Tunisia, Yemen, and Syria, in which there was revolution against the established political order. So my question to my classmates is, which word or phrase best describes 2011? What was reality like back then in 1 or 2 words here? So if you asked me, I would probably choose something like either it's very hot today, global warming, or brave new world. There's a lot of changes going on politically, economically, socially. And so this is a year of change. And our question is this reflected in the book in any way, in the book chapter in any way? In part 2, we'll look at ways of creating materials. Dr. Madaram told us about 2 different types of materials: task, which is meaning focused, and form focused language. We tend to think of as grammar and vocabulary, but basically the form, the correct form. He mentions Hot Potatoes as a website that he uses in the year 2011, 2010, 2011. And it's still available on the web today. And the type of form-focused exercises are like gap fills, multiple choices, word games, crossword puzzles, these types of things. He mentions the websites that are made by the publishers. Publishers were making these type of exercises, for example, here to put the words in the correct order. Focus on form. There is also the focus on meaning. An example could be plan a trip to Italy. This is the type of activity that he was referring to back in 2011 here, using language in a real way to make meaning. He mentions the availability of blogs and wikis, 2010, 2011. Google Docs, collaborative tools to work with spoken English. Skype was available. For the virtual classroom, WizIQ was available in 2011. And for recorded audio and video, multimedia, there was YouTube. Now in part 3, what we have here is the blending of materials and technology. And to do this, our author, Madaram, refers us to Dr. Tony Bates, who says here that good teaching may overcome a poor choice of technology, but technology will never save bad teaching. And it's Bates in 1995 gave us his acronym of actions. This acronym is used to evaluate the use of technology. Each letter in the word actions actually helps us to remember a part of it. A, access. C, cost. T, the teaching and learning. I, interactivity and user friendliness. O, organizational issues. N, novelty. And S, speed. What's important here probably is that we understand this is made in 1995. It wasn't made in 2021, but it was a very good tool at that period of time. We can state also that we don't see him addressing something like safety and security. The students are not being addressed here as well. So those two things stand out, but still a useful tool for the time. So we want to use that tool and apply it to an actual case study. Here we have a 7th grade classroom. It's a native speaker classroom, but they're teaching English. And the project is based on the Titanic, doing research and doing a digital writing project. The students are given options of how to represent their work. One of these options was a Glogster. Here, the price is 0.00. So that's like C, the cost. Being free, it's the best scenario possible for that. Storybird, we see a different story here. The students are being offered Storybird as a tool, but it costs $4.99 a month. So if there's a school plan, that's better. Students were told here they could create a website. This website is a student website using Weebly. The cost is 0.00, free. So again, a very good tool from the perspective of cost. Here, the most interesting thing is that for students who did not have access to computers, they could choose to use artistic expression. They did not need a computer for. So the teacher was saying here, if you don't have a computer, if you don't have access, there's still a possibility you can participate in this project, but you'll be making a poster in part 1, and in part 2, you'll be writing a 4-paragraph essay about this project. Cost is free. So here, in our conclusion, what we want to do is look at the memory that the students have. What Dr. Madaram has given us is a way to evaluate the use of technology. So this is a useful tool, and it's worth coming back now and checking on what the students can remember. What is this A? What does it stand for? And in your own words, what does it mean to you when you're evaluating the use of technology? And we do the same through each one of these. A, access. C, cost. T, teaching. So we'd ask different students in the classroom if they could remember a letter, and then in their own words, what does it mean to evaluate that particular item? To sum up, we looked first at the word cloud result. We saw some interesting data there. Literacy called my eye as one of the most important parts of wanting to know what is the relationship of literacy, technology, and language learning development materials. Also here, we looked at there's two ways. This is what Dr. Madaram was saying. We have form-focused activities and we have meaning-focused activities. And technology can be used to generate both of those types of activities. And when we blend the materials and technology, we needed a way to be able to assess that. And for this, he gave us actions, which was good to remember. Now, as a final reflection, it is clear that this book was written 10 years ago and technology has simply moved on. The tools and technology we have today is awesome compared to what it was back then. And we know also, without the shadow of a doubt, that today technology is necessary.